How to pick a niche. The first thing you want to do when starting a new magazine is pick a niche. Now, the catch here is not to pick a niche that other people have already done. For instance, if you want to start a wedding magazine, do not start one in an area that already has 5 others. Even if you have a niche that is unique, the uphill climb is not worth the money you will make, or won't make in this case. If your heart is really set on the industry, the best plan is to create a similar niche. For example, instead of a wedding magazine, create a couples or engagement magazine that helps couples grow until the big day. How to create a calendar and timeline. It is important to start a magazine with the end in mind. To take your magazine from dream to reality, you would need to set and stick to a schedule of actionable items. To stay on schedule, you would need to create a timeline. For your convenience, we have included an example timeline to help you get started. Start with day 1 and plan all the way up until distribution day when your magazine finally hits the stands. Putting together a magazine has many variables that will affect your timeline. Selling in order to meet budget is a big one. If you have a team of 3 salespeople working diligently and daily to make sales, then you may want to give yourself 3 to 4 months to meet budget. However, if it's just you making sales calls, then you may need to give yourself 6 to 8 months to sell enough to meet your budget. How to find a printer. Finding a good printer is a key piece to this puzzle. You must remember, it is more important to save as much money as possible for your new startup business than anything else. Some things you can cut corners on, but printing is not one of those things. You need to have high-quality magazine if you want loyal readers and paying advertisers. That being said, you still must watch your pricing. Feel free to print with whatever company gives you the best deal. Print wherever you think is best, even if that means leaving your local city, state, or even country. Printing in each location has its certain risk, and you need to be fully aware of those risks before you print your first magazine. A good rule to keep in mind is the closer to home you print, the more it will cost. How to start doing distribution. Now, you may not know it yet, but in most cases, the first question out of your potential advertiser's mouth will be, where will your magazine be distributed? When they ask that question, you better have an answer, and a good one. The way you answer the question will determine whether or not your magazine will grow or die. Most niche magazines are going to have obvious distribution locations. For instance, if you have a bridal magazine, the bridal dress store should be your logical first step. However, what may not be as obvious is distributing in the wedding venues, as well as your local sorority houses. Most girls getting married are in either college or not too far removed from it. Target these women, and you will have good success in capturing the whole market when you first start out. If food is your magazine's niche, the clear choice would be in restaurants. What may not be so obvious would be the social and civic clubs. Magazine readership is determined by several factors, but one thing you know for sure is that they read. This means you are targeting a certain type of people. Social and civic clubs are good places to find those people. How to begin the sales process. The biggest mistake most startup publishers make is sales. Let's be clear from the beginning. No sales equals no magazine. You can focus on pretty pictures and the flowing articles all you want, but if you don't have solid sales, your magazine will not grow into the great staple of the community that it could be. As a new publisher, you have no choice but to make sales your #1 priority. How to begin with editorial. At last, we come to why most people get into magazines in the first place: the content. In the publishing world, the term used is copy. Setting your editorial calendar is something that should be done in your timeline. You can generate editorial in different ways. 1. Write it yourself. This way may be the easiest and most inexpensive in the beginning. However, unless you want to go crazy, you have to learn to let others take over for you. 2. You can hire editorial staff. Hiring staff will cost you more, but will get you better quality articles than if you did them all yourself. It will also make your company look bigger. Having more staff on your list will help you get bigger advertisers. How to have a great design. When first starting out, your magazine will not be that large, so don't let your graphic designer exceed his or her time budget. Most startup magazines are under 100 pages. Design time should not exceed 1 week for your first draft. If you encounter a designer that tells you much more than a week, run. This typically means they are either lazy or not very good. You can find plenty of good designers on the freelance website that were mentioned in the editorial section. The better and faster they are, the more they will want to be paid. How to be seen online. Any good magazine should have a really dynamic website. Although most business owners try to use free website builders, these will not give you nearly the same level of customization that a professional graphic designer and web developer will. The freelance websites mentioned in the editorial section will help you find developers as well. In today's world, your new magazine needs to have an online presence. Publishing your new magazine online by using websites like issue.com is so important. Don't skip on this step. How to begin the social media. Now, we're going to talk about the social media aspect of your business. It is no secret that social media is a huge cultural component in the world today. Some older businesses are resistant to social media, most often because they simply don't know how to use it, or they are skeptical about its value. We understand both of these arguments, but in order to stay competitive in an ever-changing market, you simply need to embrace social media, at least to an extent. Currently, most businesses can get by with a Facebook account. Twitter use is gradually dwindling. Instagram can be useful, but only for specific businesses. Essentially, social media is constantly evolving. If you want to use social media to the best of its ability, make sure you're aware of the new social media mediums that arise. How to find an accounting team. One of the first things you need to do when putting a plan together for your magazine is to hire a good accountant. Once you start making money and as contracts come in, they'll be able to invoice them. The best method is to wait until you have your first contract. Then you'll know you have the money to pay. Don't spend money until you have it coming in. Wait until you have contracts in as well. How to find legal help. Every startup magazine should be incorporated with at least an LLC. An LLC is a limited liability company with different protections that vary among states. We advise you to consult with an attorney about the different protections your state offers. If you're going to own a business, especially a magazine, you have to get used to contracts. It's important for every startup to have legal services. Don't keep an attorney on a retainer unless you have big money behind you. You're a startup and typically you can't afford it. It is really important to shop hard for a good attorney. If you're going to have them draft contracts, then that attorney should be somewhat familiar with the advertising industry. Ready to take your magazine from dream to reality? Enroll in the complete course on how to start a magazine. This course is a step-by-step guide that will walk you through the entire process of creating your magazine from beginning to end.